So here's a quote from the book: parades, demonstrations, protests, and outdoor gatherings and celebrations help us to tap into just how much human movement frees up one's body, one's pain, one's joy, and one's sense of agency. And that got me thinking about we had a lot of events canceled during the pandemic, like outdoor street festivals, even though they're outside and it's fine during the pandemic. Here in Minneapolis, we have open streets events, which is kind of like, are you familiar with the concept of an open streets event?
Very much.
Yeah,
Yes.
so people are biking and walking, and like vendors are out there outside their storefront. So they're great. I love them, and they got canceled, and that was a real shame because we could have used that. And then here, we're not quite post pandemic, but anyway, we're moving through it. We're hopefully all vaccinated, and one of my favorite events in St. Paul is the Little Mekong Night Market, which was canceled because the organizers couldn't afford to hire enough police to protect it from the fear that someone would drive their car intentionally through the event. It was in the wake of, I don't know if you heard about that case in Wisconsin where a man drove his car through, I think it was a 4th of July parade, some kind of parade. So it's so many of these great events, whether it's the pandemic or like violence issues, like we've been robbed of these outdoor events. And this is a very long-winded way for me to lead into a question of the importance of gathering with others in the outdoors, like moving together, moving with other people, which you write about extensively.
This is what human stories have done and are doing all over the world. I mean, it's just whether it's, out of protest or out of celebration or out of pilgrimage or out of fleeing one's country or situation or out of just general transportation and community, getting the water and coming back, getting the, like, whatever the waves of people moving the way they're made to move in this kind of web or fabric of connectivity and play even, but also kind of claiming, the things that they want to claim related to rights or fair treatment or dignity or, whatever it is. And so there's just something that is so, it can feel almost like chaos when you look at just how controlled so many of our environments have become related to concrete and 90-degree angles and again, just this illusion really of what a car kind of is now dictating to us related to its needs: controlled temperatures, artificial materials, artificial speeds. I mean, just be real about it. Like, okay, this is not car shaming, because I borrow a car, I use transit, I get on buses, I am an artist and I go to markets and I borrow cars to fill it up, to take all my things to markets. Like, this is not about getting rid of cars completely. That's not my frame. It's not realistic. It's not, but be honest about like the complete separation from what is natural. Like just like aggressively dishonest around a natural pace for human movement, human belonging, human play, human resistance, human connection, human healing, human proximity and responsibility to the planet. Like, I could go on and on and on. And so the invitation in the book, it comes up a lot, what you're referencing in two chapters, both the chapter Walking as Play, just related to like being playful in the outdoors and just getting groups of people together and carrying around sidewalk chalk and leaving wonderful messages for people and hugs and music. And we do these things with Walk to Connect, which is a part of some of the work that I've done for years, these glow in the dark dance walks. I mean, why not? Like, it's night, you don't really need to talk too much, just dance and get some music. Like, be weird. Like, let's be weird more. And, but then also like the chapter that follows or that's shortly after is Walking as Resistance. Like, how do we move our bodies in a way of, making statements? It's why I think, protest is so powerful, because it's waves of human bodies doing what they're made to be doing, and people pay attention to it. Yes, it's the message. Yes, it's the things that are being said, but it's because human people are out in the streets, And then obviously, the things that you shared about open streets and just a setting that's just kind of giving way to to that to those shared ecosystems that it shouldn't be a thing. I think we think in the TikTok and on the Instagram or on our Discord with a lot of younger audiences, that are in this space, wanting to organize in this space. A lot of commentary just comes up around, why do I love college so much? Or why do I love when I went to Europe once and it's not this, Europe has its own challenges of car centrism and things like that. So Europe's not necessarily but there are a lot more plazas in public space because these communities were built when the only thing people did was walking or roll, so you have these like heightened experiences and it's just so euphoric, and college is so wonderful. I want to go back to college days, or I don't want to leave college. But what about the public shared ecosystem, the public space, the public place, and moving our bodies in a more regulated way where every 20 minutes we're letting go of things and we're creating new ideas, we're meeting new people, we're picking up that ice cream, we're whatever it is, like we're listening to the music on the corner, to just take a breath with the stress because there's space and invitation for busking and music, all the things. So
So
long answers, John.
it's fine. It's fine. That's what this podcast is all about, is
Good.
talking way too much and too long. If you're with us still here at 52 minutes, so like you talk about screens and like waking up from screens, and there's a similar dynamic with, our car-centric culture. We are, inside our metal boxes, as I think you refer to them in the book, cut off from each other. In similar ways, like our screens are distracting us and we're also cut off by our cars. I think it's widely recognized that like social media, it's becoming more widely recognized that social media is like problematic in terms of how it like distracts us and takes us down rabbit holes that are very unhealthy. I wonder if you think we are turning the corner, politically speaking, and having people wake up to the idea about car culture and how harmful that is. I do my share of activism around like streets here in Minneapolis. I feel like we've made a lot of progress in the last 10 years in changing some minds and like setting some new standards. I wonder if you feel like we are turning that corner and people are kind of coming to that realization.
I would say in a very in extremely small ways, there's definitely things happening, with, I think, the multimodal projects funding coming down that's available to cities and towns, rural, medium, large, like state funding from federal funding. So yes, there definitely are things that are turning it, and it's good to see that and feel that. To me, it's so far from I think the urgency needed specifically. I mean, very much from the mobility access, like practical utilitarian framework of people getting around who've been needing to get around safely for how many, decades and centuries. I think there's just so much missing in the way of climate and environment responsibility, in the way of mental and social health, as it comes back to these themes of moving the way we're made to, kind of coming back to each other through our movement and relationships, tension, conflict, division. Pairing that with social media, pairing that with the car reality, it just feels the tools that are turning are still, to me, they feel still really far from preparing and educating and shaping this as like a larger topic outside of just transportation, and then it's also missing to me the racism and classism aspects, the accessibility aspects. Where are resources really being prioritized? I just don't anywhere close see enough focus and resources going to for example, these arterial roads. They go to kind of what I describe a lot as these luxury projects, which are nice, and they're good. They help tap in, so it's not all bad. But to me, it's just so misguided from like kind of the greatest harm related to healing. And when I think about reparations in the context of mobility, I think we're just way too far. And I also think the aspects in relationship. Denver has, I mean, just speaking from Denver, we have a great like climate action team here, working with our city. That's a huge fund. There's good things happening. We're turning some corners, but it just still feels really far, really far. But I'm so deep in it, and so it's hard, I think, for me to float out and just like kind of have some of that spacious grace. I just feel so loud in my body, John, around like the mental implications and the race and class implications that we're experiencing as vehicles get larger.
Yeah.
You know,
so much has happened, and I'm kind of like on to the next thing. How do we fix this, fix that? And so I don't really, I was having a conversation with someone who was less politically active, and they were pointing to all the progress we've made. And I had to step back and like say, oh yeah, we did do all those things, but I was too busy focused on the future. And I'm busy feeling bad about the future. I wasn't looking back at some of the good things that had happened.
absolutely. So, and I need to be doing that more. I'm always like having my own talking tos around and being reminded of the good things that are happening. So there's plenty of encouragement.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.